Pro. And welcome to the Ray Hanania on Politics podcast. It's Sunday, April 6th, 2025. And I'm talking with Tom Tresser, an expert on TIFs, tax increment financing districts, and the impact TIFs had in the outcomes of two major suburban elections, the defeat of Orland Park Mayor Keith Pekau by Jim Dodge, and the defeat of Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin by Alderman John Laesch. I think I got his name pronounced right, but both Pekau and Irvin faced criticism because their abuses and use of TIFs. And there isn't anybody who knows TIFs better than my guest, Tom Tresser. Tom, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Ray. It's always a pleasure to be on your air, my brother.
And give me a little bit of background, like your website and stuff. So if people want to follow up, let them get it ahead
Right.
now, and we'll do it at the end too.
Sure. Well, I call myself a civic educator and public defender, and you can find out more about my work at Tresser.com. That's Tresser.com. But the thing that has brought us together here is a tax increment financing, which is the TIF Illumination Project, something I've run for about 14 years, and that's TIFreports.com.
Okay. And I'll tell you what, we brought you out a number of months ago, specifically because to Orland Park, specifically because the mayor here, Keith Pekau, had changed and gerrymandered and adjusted a TIF that has been around for like 20 years, and then proposed three more. He's actually proposed the fourth since
Oh,
we last talked.
my goodness.
But this election is going to stop it, hopefully. But the one good thing was many people didn't understand what a TIF does to property taxes and how it takes money away from schools and other local governments. It's too complicated, it seemed.
Hmm.
Explain it one more time for people. What does a TIF actually do?
Well, the thing to remember, it's your property taxes. So that's the main thing. A TIF is a special district created by your local government, in this case, Orland Park or the city of Aurora. And they're done in the name of economic development. But what they do is they intercede and they grab property taxes
Hmm.
over the base. So when the TIF district is created, we calculate how much property taxes the properties in the TIF are generating, and it's that level is frozen for 23 years. So the schools and the libraries and the local units of government are getting what they should be getting, which is the base, but no more. And every penny of increased value, again, inside the district, from either new construction or just increase in value, does not go to serve the people, but it goes into this essentially a slush fund.
For
And then from that
23
fund,
years or 35 years, right?
23 years, and it could be extended if the mayor wants. And the mayor can dip into those buckets of money and dispense them at his or her will with the approval of the local city council, which is usually pro forma. And it's usually for to subsidize private projects. And then we often find that the people who own those projects are giving campaign contributions to the mayor and other
Always.
officials.
Yeah. And
So the
what?
question is,
Mhm.
is that a proper use of your public money?
Well, the one thing that you helped me when you came out to Orland Park to do your seminar for workshop that we did for, like, I think we had about 40 or 50 people. They got the word out. It was slow because people are not, they get mad when you increase property taxes, but when you tell them that someone's stealing their property taxes to spend it in a weird way, for
Yeah,
some reason they don't understand it. So we went around and told people, and we explained to them, listen, if this TIF is approved and taxes are frozen at that year level that it's approved, for the next 23 years, all the property taxes that would go to the schools, for example, would be used in this development, specifically
right.
for the development. And if they build 500 homes in that TIF, all those property taxes that should go to the schools to help cover the increased pressure on the schools for those 500 homes, because
Right.
they're all going to have kids, would not go to the schools. and we
Right.
would end up having to pay a higher property tax to offset that loss.
Well, that's what happens all across Cook County and Kane County and, um, 90 counties in Illinois have TIFs. So um, the local units of government know this game very well. And when they see TIFs being created, which means property taxes being taken away from them, they have to inch up their own rates. So in Cook County, Fritz Kagi, Assessor Kagi's people have determined that the TIFs have caused a 15% hike in property taxes all across everybody in the Cook County jurisdiction. That's hundreds of thousands of people year in and year out. So I just looked at my own tax bill, Ray.
Yeah.
I moved into my condo with my wife in 1999. That's like, if you could just give me back that much money, I could like send my nephew to college. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Over those years. So,
Yeah.
so the assessor is saying that all these TIFs have increased property taxes 15%.
That's right.
That's huge.
It's huge.
And we don't see that those property taxes. That extra 15% doesn't really go to us. It goes to the developers.
Yeah,
And
think of it as
I never
think of it
understood.
as your contribution to the millionaire class.
Right. And I never understood, and a lot of people had a hard time believing this, that a mayor would help a developer. A developer buys a piece of land. He wants to build buildings. Let him pay for it. Why do we have to subsidize it and use our property taxes to help that developer
Yeah.
be more successful, who then writes a big check to the mayor's
Well,
campaign, thousands of dollars, to thank
yeah.
him for making us pay for the developer's work?
Well, I mean, that's a question I've been asking since 2013. I think the Orland Park meeting was my 246th meeting, Ray. And I mean, I'm a kind of a liberal guy. I mean, I'm kind of a lefty kind of a guy. But in this case, I'm an ardent capitalist. I'd say the market says you want to take a risk, you want to build something, like you said, build it, charge charge $5,000 a square foot for rent. If you can get people to, rent with you and things go well, then congratulations, good for you. Then you pay your taxes, you hire people. But if your project goes bust, I'm sorry, it's
Right.
not my problem.
Right. And then we get saddled with it, the
We do.
taxpayers.
We absolutely.
We
And then
end
in
up
case of
paying for
Orland
it.
Park, what we found was especially egregious was there was no reporting. There were missing the required documents on a number of fronts. So the village of Orland Park was negligent, not just because they hadn't filed their TIF reports, which is against the law, but they hadn't even filed their required audit. I mean, as a
Right.
village entity. So
Right.
here's the mayor saying, we have a TIF. It's taking your money. I'm not telling you what I'm doing with it,
Right.
and I want more TIFs. And I'm not even telling you if the books of the village are balanced or not. So go go figure
T-
that out.
Tell us a little bit about Aurora too. What do we know about Aurora and Tiffs and
Well,
Mayor
Aurora
Irvin, who
was
lost to John
well,
Laesch? I believe
what a
his. You know how to pronounce his last name,
John
Laesch.
Laesch, you got it.
Laesch. Okay.
Well, what a strange conundrum. So the incumbent is a black man who's been mayor for I think 2 terms. But oddly, I mean, it's sort of is he a Democrat? Is he a Republican? Well, um, Ken Griffith, the richest man in Illinois until he moved away, gave this guy like $50 million
Wow.
to run in the Republican primary for governor.
Wow.
This is, in 24. And so Mayor Irvin lost to another guy, so the $50 million was just thrown away. But that's the kind of clout that this mayor of a fairly small town has. He's a prodigious fundraiser. He gets a lot of money from the real estate interests. But what particularly drove the people in Aurora crazy is you've got the Hollywood casino there. So that was one of the first casinos that came to Chicago. To the Illinois area. It was supposedly a riverboat. It was just
Right.
thing in a moat. And they sort of made that fiction go away, and it's a land-based casino. It's part of Penn Entertainment. They have, I believe, 6 casinos. I mean, it's $1 billion business.
Yeah.
There's another Hollywood casino. I forget where it is, but they have 2 casinos in Illinois. Anyway, it's not big enough. So the guy that owns this company, who's a billionaire, wants to move his casino to the northern part of Aurora. So it's been sitting down there for years. As you say, the schools have been screwed. Now they were getting excited because that time was coming over. The TIF was going to be over, and now they thought the school district thought they were going to get new revenue. Well, guess what he did? He pulled a fast one. They created a new TIF on the northern part of the city. He's moving his casino there. It's a different school district.
Right. Wow.
So I'm the school district for the southern part of that area. I'm completely hosed. If I backed the casino play back in the day on the understanding that one day my ship would come in, I got hosed. But not only that, it's $50 million. So the people of Aurora are going to give this billionaire $50 million.
Yeah, that's the thing. This guy's a billionaire who could easily write a check for 50 million. Instead of writing, he'll write a check for a politician to advance his interests, but he won't write a check for to take over complete rehaul and moving of a
No.
casino.
And
He
not
wants
only
the
that, but there's
taxpayers to do
another
it.
30 million, Ray,
Yeah.
in giveaways for the land. I mean, because they have to reroute some highway. I mean, so all in,
Wow.
it's over $80 million for the people of Aurora. And I'm just saying, like, oh, and not only that, but this guy bought some sports betting company for hundreds of millions of dollars, and then it was a bust. He sold it for $1. So he took a bath of 500 mil on one proposition. So this is the kind of guy he's loaded with cash.
Were you able to bring that message out to the Aurora
I did.
residents?
I did. I did an illumination for them, as I did for you and your colleagues in Orland Park. And it was about 70 people there, including members of the school board and the members of the Kane County Commission.
You got a better response up there than you did in Orland. All the officials here were hiding because Pekau in Orland is a bully. Now, Irvin may be, I don't know if he was as much of a bully, but he was much more focused on the money, I guess, and the
Yeah.
taxes rather than on the politics. But
Well, but in both cases, though, you have a financial situation that defies understanding.
yeah,
Why are you giving a casino? And by the way, his casino it pulls in like $80 million a year, so it's not like it's a losing proposition.
right,
So he moves his casino. He's going to enlarge it. He's going to put a bigger hotel, whatever he's going to do. And why are the people of Aurora? I mean, are things so great in Aurora? Like, are they eating off gold plates up there? Is everybody well and healthy? Are the schools full of smart kids? And you know what I'm saying? Are the parks
right.
beautiful? There's nothing. We have nothing to do to improve the city of Aurora. Okay? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. And
Defies understanding.
it doesn't just take
And in
money
Orland
from
Park, it was just as bad with the bad reporting as I mentioned.
And it doesn't just take money, again, from the school districts, although the schools are a big chunk of the property taxes we pay. It takes money from fire districts, any other individual government within that TIF district, right? Their
Yeah, I mean,
taxes,
so
their property
basically,
taxes.
if you want to know the impacts, you just go to the file cabinet, pull out your property tax bill, and just see the units of government that get funded from your property tax. So the
Right,
school is number one, but it's also the village itself, or the county would be on there. And in the Chicago, it's also the libraries, the parks, and the water reclamation district. So each county is going to be a little different, but it's like 8 or 9 units of government are kind of hoping, relying on your property tax dollars to keep the lights on. And of course, the schools are number one. I think that's also a matter of equity and even, I would say, somewhat racist in the sense that Illinois is a regressive state in their income tax.
right,
So it means that our localities must rely overly on property tax to fund education. And that's just not right. Because if you happen to be in a poorer community, a working class community, you don't have a shopping mall, your houses are of modest value, your schools are just not going to be as well funded as the schools in a richer, dare I say, whiter community. And that's just not equitable. Okay. That's not equitable, but that's how it is in Illinois. So when TIFs come to town, it makes a bad situation even worse, if you follow me.
yeah, I do. And one of the things that often gets missed is when a mayor of a village takes all these property taxes and puts it in a TIF, they think, oh, yeah, the village is going to get those property taxes. But that's not the case. The village loses property taxes because the mayor is going to use this for the development and for others. He could use it for anything he wants to use it for, basically related to that TIF. So the
Yeah.
village loses money, the village government.
Yeah, whatever percentage it is on the property tax bill, it's a few percentage points
Right.
over 23 years, which again, the inflationary pressure forces everyone's property taxes up. So if someone thinks like this is not really about me because I don't live in the part of the city where there's a TIF, no, it's your problem too.
And you talked about the illumination project, TIF projects that you do. You came out to Orland, you went out to Aurora. Explain that a little bit because maybe there are people that are seeing TIFs in their area and they need to understand what's going on. You can go out there, help them understand what's happening. You do as much research as is available. You present it to them, you explain it to them. That really educated us in Orland Park, and I bet educated people in Aurora too.
Right. So it's strangely entertaining, I got to say. All right. I mean, what is a TIF? Why should you care? I break that down and show examples. Um, so we don't really move too much in the presentation until everyone is comfy with just how that works. So, we're talking about the increment. What is the increment? How does that work? I have graphs and whatnot. So we want to spend a little time just explaining that, how TIFs work,
Right.
because that's kind of an essential piece of civic architecture. Um, Money is removed, property taxes go away, and that we gotta hammer that, and so everyone gets that because it sort of negates the classic defensive tiffs that this is free money.
Right.
Nobody's a loser, they say,
Right.
and we got to get that out of the way pretty fast.
Because that's not true.
That's not true. There's no such thing as
Homeowners
free lunch.
and businesses are big losers in a TIF district.
Yeah, and also just coincidentally, you could be a very astute businessman and oppose TIFs just because it's anti-competitive. I mean, your opponent, your competitor down the hall gets a TIF. In other words, the city is underwriting his costs, but you are in the same business and that's not competitive. So you
Got it.
find businessmen also annoyed. So in my presentation, I explain that, and then we look at the TIFs of the city where we're at. So in this case was Orland Park, and then also as Aurora. How many TIFs are there presently? Where are they? And the complete history. So if the TIF was created in 2007, how much money has it taken from that day to this? What do they spend it on?
Right.
And very important, how much money is sitting in the TIF accounts right now? When I get to that number, that's always an what the
Sure.
F.
Right. That was a shocking number in Orland Park. I think it was something like $40 million that was sitting in the TIF here in Orland, and people are our taxes and fees and utility costs. The mayor raised all those, and we're thinking, wait a minute, what about all this money that's sitting in there? The good part of what you do is when you go into a community, you help open eyes to say, listen, the mayor isn't giving you the data. Here's what he's not giving you. And then it's up to the citizens to make up their mind
Right.
about, wow, is it an impact? Is it not an impact? And in every case, I think they realize they're getting screwed.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it was 246 meetings, and in every case, no one's happy. No one has stood up and go, "Hey, this is a great deal.
Right.
I like another TIF, please."
Right. Nobody asked for it again. Once they learn about it, how do they go about bringing you out there again? Just remind
They
every our
just get,
listeners.
yeah, you just email me at tom@tresser.com, or you can go to tiffreports.com, and there's a way to get a hold of me. Um, I mean, I'm not funded by anybody. I used to be part of a nonprofit, but we got turned down 50 times
Right.
funding because I think this work challenges power. There's no other way to put it.
Right.
When you have the real estate, the bankers, the lawyers, and of course the developers in bed with the local mayor. And, I'm not saying that mayors are evil or they're stupid or the city councilmen, they could be uninformed.
Right.
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they get such a sell job. I mean, there's so much money on the other side to whip up reports and great graphics of what your community is going to look like once the TIF comes. So a well-meaning elected official can be snowed by all this, but I say don't press the green button yet until you bring me into your community, and then you have the facts, and then you can decide.
and at least know what to look for that
Yeah.
if the information isn't available. So these developers who do developments all over in multiple cities, hundreds of cities, are they the ones that are pushing these TIFs because they
Sure.
know it helps them the most?
Oh my God. You're getting 30% of your nut covered by the city. You would be negligent if you
Not
didn't, you
as a
know.
business, as a
Yeah,
business,
your
as a
board or
selfish business, as a selfish business.
your co-owners, your partners would be saying, Ray, why aren't you pushing for TIFs? We're going to
Right,
fire your ass
right.
because with a little bit of juice on your part, it's a
Make the
modest buy-in.
taxpayers pay for our business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
30%. That would
So
be,
that goes to your point about, doesn't necessarily mean that the mayor is bad. Maybe they don't understand TIFs. We
they
get
don't.
people, regular people that run for office all the time talking about all kinds of issues. I've rarely heard of TIF being one of the major top five issues in a local election until the last few years. And I think it has a lot to do with you.
I'd like to think that. I mean, it's your property taxes. Remember, we fought a revolution in this country not that long ago, or we're coming up on the 250th anniversary of the founding of America, and we kicked the king out on account of we didn't like the way taxes were going. It's like no taxation without representation. And I think we're getting into some kind of kernel there in terms of we're being squeezed, as you mentioned, by so many fees. Like in Chicago, Mayor Johnson just authorized 16 more speed cameras, which is just a regressive tax
Yeah.
on poor people.
Yeah.
These are horrible ways to raise money, and so part of my career has been trying to talk about more progressive and sustainable ways to raise money. I have a book called "Chicago is Not Broke: Funding the City We Deserve," and talks about that, and TIFs are certainly part of it. So. Yeah, it's a question for maybe another conversation. Like, okay, Tom, you're Mr. No. You're always saying no, no Olympics, no TIFs. How should we build our cities? That's a great question, maybe
Get,
for another day, but for
get
sure, you got to say
investors.
no to a bad thing before you can say yes to a good thing.
Yeah, and get investors. The business wants to build something. I hope they want to build it because they believe it's going to generate money for them and for the community and property taxes and maybe sales taxes if they're businesses. Let them pay for it. Why should I pay for their business success?
And not only that, it raises another interesting point, which I now call TIF bloat. You are seeing overbuilt downtowns and places with too much office towers, and that's certainly true for Chicago.
Right.
And I'll lay that at the foot of TIFs. So in Chicago, in the Loop area, in the LaSalle Street area, there were about 50 TIF funded projects. Over $850 million of Chicago's taxpayer money was spent on office towers. And I'm going to claim that some of them didn't need to be built. In other words, I'm the developer and I'm getting all this free money. My judgment is skewed and I'm taking risks I oughtn't take. The result is an overbuilt market, not just in Chicago, but in many cities. And now, guess what? Those same developers want TIF money to bail them out and convert the office towers into residential. And Mayor Johnson, beyond my understanding, has given $110 million to four developers, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They got the money coming and going.
Wow. All right, Tom, listen, of course, thank you for coming on and talking to us about this. I really think you deserve credit for what happened in Orland Park and Aurora, the city of Aurora. Remind us, how do they reach out to you if someone is in Naperville or Joliet or Belvedere or wherever?
And
How do
guess
they
what?
bring you out there?
They
Where
all
do they
have
go to
TIFs.
get information?
All those places you mentioned, Ray, they got TIFs, man.
Yeah.
They can reach me at tom@tresser.com. It's my last name, Tresser, tom@tresser.com, or tiffreports.com. You can connect with me there, and we'll, break glass and ring bell.
All right, and your book again, give us a plug for that.
It's Chicago is Not Broke, Funding the City We Deserve. You can find out about that at wearenotbroke.org.
All right, my guest Tom Tresser, really a authority on TIFs and somebody. If you hear the word TIF, don't run from it, don't ignore it. It's going to impact your wallet and your property taxes. Call Tom Tresser up, reach out to him, and bring him out there to explain it to you. Tom, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, buddy.